Our next guest is a special guest. He's got some actual ties to the show. We're going to bring in Myles Simmons after a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA Finals are in full swing. Tomorrow could be the final game of the NBA season, so if you want to get in on the action before it's all said and done, you better download the FanDuel app. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Bull, why don't you introduce us to our guest?
Yeah, we've got Myles Simmons. Myles started his career as an intern on the Bull and Fox show, of course. And now he's gone on to great success. No longer with us, but it's been a long time. I still think of Myles as a kid because he's got a beard now.
It doesn't matter, dude.
But he's old now.
These guys who are a decade younger than us.
Yeah.
Like he started working with us. Myles, you were like what, 20, 19?
I was 21 or 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was 21. I was 21. I was a kid. I was a kid. Yeah.
You're how old now? You're 31?
33.
Okay. Still a
Math
kid.
is
Time
awful.
flies,
Still
right?
a kid.
Time
I
flies.
played tennis with these guys who were like early 30s.
Yeah.
I call them kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So.
It's understandable. Hey, congratulations,
Thanks,
Dustin.
Myles.
I
Appreciate it, buddy. I still follow all your stuff, man. So I'm so proud of you. All the amazing things that you've done. Not surprising, by the way.
Yeah.
We knew that you were so smart and talented. So it's and a great person. So
every
it's
other
good to see.
intern we had was basically useless.
Yeah,
I'm sure they
much.
appreciate hearing that.
That's because
The bar
every
was
other
low,
intern.
Myles. The bar was low.
True, but every other intern didn't come in when Bull you just torn your Achilles and you needed your pillow fluffed and the meter filled and your car pulled around.
That's true.
Myles, can you hit the meter and then grab me a soda at the store downstairs?
Myles did take great care of me when I was injured, but I loved him anyway beyond that because he was super duper smart and very hardworking, and we just knew he was going to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
And now he's had this great success.
Enough with the flattery. My God.
All right, let's get to it.
Nobody cares anymore.
All right.
Like yeah.
You're right. You've outgrown the situation. Tyrese Halliburton or Evan Mobley? Who you got?
Evan Mobley. Because I don't think Evan Mobley's going to disappear like this. Like, why is it that, if you're a superstar, right, or even a star, how are you going to disappear, even when you have an injury? And, like, I respect the fact that, guys are going out there competing. Like, nobody is 100%, especially when you're playing in the NBA in June. But if you're Tyrese Halliburton, you got to score something. You can't disappear like that. So that, to me, like, I don't think Evan Mobley is going to disappear in these kinds of situations. And also, Halliburton's got a couple more years on him, doesn't he? So, like, it should be beyond this for Halliburton, where you basically are supposed to be the number one guy on your team. You can't disappear in the first half of Game 5 like he did, despite the injury. So,
I agree with your answer.
Evan Mobley's got two wins beyond the first round of the playoffs, but all right.
I agree with you on Mobley, but I do think – I don't want to derail this whole thing.
Yeah, we got to get to football, but go ahead.
I think calf injuries are the most underappreciated injury out there. You hear calf and you're like, it's just a calf. Get out there and play. But
no.
But I mean, it
attaches to the Achilles tendon.
You screw around with calves and you'll blow out your Achilles. I just think that this is one injury that people sort of roll their eyes at that is absolutely legit. If he had a broken leg, would we be saying, I can't believe he didn't score on a broken leg?
No.
But I think calves are pretty serious stuff.
Especially for a basketball player, Jason.
Yes.
No, and you're right, because, you need the lift in order to shoot, right? And I respect that. Like I said, I understand that he's injured. However, it's not, and I know he's been dealing with it, but this is not the first time that he's disappeared in key situations. And so that, to me, is the bigger difference. And I don't want to dismiss the injury, and I'm not. But, we're...
I mean, Mobley's the right answer.
I'm not a Halliburton.
Mobley's the right answer.
I mean, Halliburton's hit all these big shots. And what has Evan Mobley done in the play? All right, I'm going to let it go. You guys have your love affair with Evan
Mobley is also he's the third option, right? Halliburton is not.
I love this guy. He's got to be a regular.
He needs somebody to get him the ball.
Attention. Well, okay, fine, but I just
Yeah. All right. Cavs haven't won a big
The Cavs
game
didn't
ever
win
since LeBron.
They
but whatever.
didn't. They did not win this series. They
No.
didn't win the series that they needed to against Indiana. They did not capitalize on the opportunity that they had late in the game against Indiana in Game 2, and Halliburton did. Now, we can talk about the officiating in that too, and I'm not a big blame the officials guy, so I won't do that, because when you have the lead that the Cavs had in Game 2, despite who was missing, right, you got to close that out. And if you can't, then you have to look internally and ask yourselves, well, why is that? And you can't blame the coach again this year. So, look internally, and it's kind of like what the Dolphins are doing right now. As I will make the transition to football.
There you go.
They're trying to get this culture change, right? And okay, Mike McDaniel's been there a few years. He had the high flying offense. You got speed, but now it's culture. All right, we got to look internally, and we got to say, what is our culture? How do we change our culture? How do we make sure that we're a little bit tougher in those situations? You got guys like Bradley Chubb saying, yeah, well, we might have talked about that last year, but we were lying. Well, I mean, that's, to me, is the kind of thing that the Cavs need to do. You got to look internally and look at yourselves and say, hey, why is it that even though we can have a lot of success in the regular season, right, and then we beat, the bejesus out of Miami, as we should have, as the number 1 overall seed, then we go and we pee down our leg once the competition really starts ratcheting up. You got to look internally and say, hey, how do we solve this? And that, to me, is going to be the biggest thing, for the Cavs going into 2025, 2026.
All right, well said,
All
Myles.
right, before we
go to football.
let's go football,
Go.
and I'm going to start with Pittsburgh because the Rodgers thing's fascinating to me. Obviously, they don't have an answer at quarterback right now, so they bring in Rodgers. They actually have weapons at wide receiver. Defensively, they're really strong. Is this like the last hurrah for Tomlin? If they can't win with Rodgers this year, you think he survives?
Yes, because I think in Pittsburgh they value that stability over most things. And it's not like they're going to be bad, And so are you really going to say, all right, Mike Tomlin, win in the playoffs or else? Some teams might do that. I don't think Pittsburgh will do that, just based on the way that organization runs. And if they had Mason Rudolph, I think that they could still go 7-10, 8-9, potentially 9-8. That's just the kind of team that Mike Tomlin coaches. But if you sign Aaron Rodgers, and even a plus 40 Aaron Rodgers, that's somebody that you feel like should be able to get you 10, 11, 12 wins. Especially if you're good on defense and you can run the football, then that guy should be able to play in the pocket, get the ball to DK Metcalf, get the ball to Pat Freiermuth, and move the ball down the field effectively. I don't know how effective Rodgers is going to be, but it seems like this is going to be a better fit, a better match for what his skill set is at this point in his career and what that team needs than the Jets were for him last year and probably even 2 years ago before he blew out his Achilles in 4 plays.
Myles, let's talk about the culture on the Browns, which has been pretty much crap for 30 years. Kevin Stefanski.
Except for 2023.
What was that? Except for 2023?
Late 2023, man. Those vibes were high.
They were
great.
2020.
Late 2020 and late 2023.
Yes, also true. Yeah.
Outside of that, it's been basically 3 decades of bad vibes. But now you're trying to get the good vibes back. They brought in a record 4 quarterbacks to try to compete here. The Shedeur Sanders thing is crazy. There's a camp of fans that couldn't love him more. There's a camp of fans that don't want to hear anything about him. It's crazy. What do you make of the whole Browns quarterback situation right now?
I go back to the draft and I hate the strategy. I mean, I don't like if you are going to draft a rookie quarterback, right? And you're going to draft that rookie quarterback in the 3rd round. First of all, I didn't love trading out of number 2 overall to pick up, when you could have a guy in Travis Hunter who seems like a ready-made superstar, like a true blue chip guy that you can't just bring into your building, under most circumstances. I can understand that strategy, right? I get trading out of number 2 to number 5. You pick up another first-round pick. If the Jags are bad this year, that means that could be potentially another top 10 pick, right? Like that I get the strategy of that. And, everybody says that the defensive tackle out of Michigan, really good, so like if he comes in, pairs well with Myles Garrett, that can be a W for you, especially picking up another first-round pick next year. I can even justify picking Dillon Gabriel in the third round, right? If you really believe that he is a high-quality backup, fine. Like, I don't necessarily think that. I watched a lot of OU because one of my best friends out here is a big OU guy, so I watch a lot of OU college football. I don't necessarily see it. Watched enough Oregon last year to think, like, yeah, he's got good talent, but when a guy is, frankly, that short, like, it makes a difference. And when he's short and a lefty, that is like two things that are really working against you, I feel like. So if you think he can be a high-quality backup in the third round, all right, fine. But then to come back and trade up for Shedeur Sanders when there's just not enough reps to go around to develop two guys that are that young, like, that's just, it's where I just am confused in the team construction, because you're telling me you would rather have this extra quarterback and you're basically taking a flyer on the QBs, and I get it because of the albatross that is Deshaun Watson. But when you're constructing a team, you've got the holes that the Browns have, and you say to me basically, all right, well, we don't think this late round pick is somebody that can come in and be a rotational player on defense. He can't come in and, play special teams. We'd rather have this QB who is either going to somehow beat out these other guys that we have brought in, or we can develop, but also we've got another developmental QB. Like, that's where the strategy just boggles my mind, and I don't get it. But now that we're here, right, I think it makes sense that they are trying to give as many reps as possible to both of these guys. Joe Flacco, gets less reps because he doesn't need them, right? We know, and they know in the building, how Joe Flacco can operate an offense. You don't necessarily know how it is with Kenny Pickett or with Gabriel or with Sanders. And now, you use two fields and you split up the 7-on-7 and you do all this. And, like, that's well and good, but it just, this strategy still, to me, from the team construction standpoint, is what is the most bothersome. And it all goes back to number 4, right? If you weren't in that situation with number 4, then it would be very different. And I understand that. But that's where I don't love the principle of drafting 2 mid-round quarterbacks. And I don't love it when people are like, oh, it's been done before. Like, no, it hasn't. Nobody does that.
Well, and now it looks like, and it's early, I know, but, I mean, I'm talking to people that are out there at practice, are like, man, the Browns realize that Shedeur is much better than Dillon Gabriel. Which is like, kind of makes you think it was a wasted pick.
You sure they know that?
I mean, based off what I've heard, I don't know that they for sure know that. But so far, the returns are like, yeah, he's pretty good. Shedeur, talking about Shedeur. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's at pick 94, you could have got a linebacker, you could have got a safety that probably could start for you. Instead, you got a quarterback that may never touch the field.
Wide receiver?
Sure.
Yes, and that's the other thing about it, right? Like, if you value Shedeur Sanders so much that if he continues to fall, it's like, oh man, well then why couldn't you draft somebody that you really feel like you could use in late third round, and then maybe you come back in the fourth round to draft him? That's where it's a team construction question, right? It's a process question. The result may end up being very good for the Cleveland Browns if they figure out that Shedeur Sanders can be a franchise quarterback for them. Like, that could be great. I don't know how you're going to figure that out this year, right? If you go into the season with Joe Flacco at quarterback, if Shedeur Sanders can't beat them out, it's going to be tough for him to secure the week 1 starting role. Again, this is a 5th-round pick, right? It'd be tough even for Dillon Gabriel as a 3rd-round pick. And Kenny Pickett, God love him, like, he still has starting experience. So that means they've got to jump both of, you got to jump another rookie, you got to jump a young vet, and then you've got to jump the old vet who knows what the Browns are about and knows what Kevin Stefanski is about as a play caller. All that is very difficult. And if you can't do that then okay, week 8, the Browns stink and they want to put in a new quarterback. Then, like, that also means that the team stinks and it's not going to be advantageous for a young quarterback to be in there. So all of this is, like I said, it's team construction, it's process. Do you have a really good plan to develop young quarterbacks so that they can then be successful? I don't know how you do that with 2 mid-round picks. I just don't.
So, Myles, I'm of the belief they traded down because they're taking a quarterback at the top of the first round next year, period. End of discussion.
Yes.
It's on these guys to change their minds on that. It's on Dillon and Pickett and Shedeur to change their minds on that. So what in your mind is how should this go? If there's 17 starts, how many should Pickett get? How many should Flacco get? How many should Gabriel get? And how many should Shedeur get? And is there going to be one that's squeezed where the answer at the end of the year is 0?
I
know I'm asking you to look
if-
into a crystal ball.
No, I know, but it's a good question, right? Because, again, it's the process of this. How should this now play out given what the circumstances are? And, if there were 16 games, it'd be a lot easier to say, like, okay, well, Flacco can start the first 4 and just kind of get us off the tee, put us on the runway, and then maybe we'll see what happens. But then we don't really have that anymore. So, I mean, I guess I could still say that. And then whoever has the hottest hand, like, gets the last start in, where are they going to be this year? Pittsburgh, since I don't remember. Whoever the division rival is in week 18. And, they're probably on their way to the playoffs and the Browns are not. And, like, then you got to figure that out. But, like, I think it would probably behoove the Browns to start off with Flacco. And if it just so happens that they're good, stick with Flacco. If it happens that they're not, which, I mean, then at week 8, or so, then you've seen what these guys can do in the building. You see who has probably a better understanding of the offense, and that's the rookie you go to. Kenny Pickett, I'm not buying that he can be a franchise guy at this point. And if he goes on and he is that for somebody else, then I think that's okay. It's not like the Browns drafted and developed him from jump. And, they didn't draft him with the 20th overall pick and then have to go sign Aaron Rodgers a couple years later because their quarterback situation still stinks. Like, so that's one thing. Because the quarterback class is going to be so much better next year in 26 than it was this year, like, that's where I understand that you want to, quote unquote, see what you have in these younger guys that have already come in and that are already draft picks that, ostensibly could be wasted if you then go and draft whoever at the top of the first round next year, right? Whether it's Arch Manning, whether it's Drew Aller, whether it's Nussmeier, any one of those guys. Like, that to me is like, you got to figure out something, but it's also unfair for young rookie quarterbacks who were not first round picks to then kind of be thrust into a situation that they're probably not going to be prepared for, especially if it's a bad team. They were drafted in the 3rd and 5th rounds for a reason. And if people thought that they really had like great starter potential, then they would have been drafted much earlier. And that doesn't mean that they can't develop into that, but I think putting either one of those 2 young guys in a disadvantageous situation and then saying, this is your chance, go. Like, is that really fair for career development? I don't know that it is.
All right, Myles, I would like to wrap up with you ripping the Bengals for not having Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart signed right now. Even though Shamar sounded like an idiot when he spoke at Bengals minicamp. Can you rip them? Do you think they should be ripped for those things?
Absolutely. Trey Hendrickson also didn't necessarily come off well when he was like standing to the side of an OTA and talking to reporters, which was like very odd in like golf
both
attire.
of them just shouldn't have come. Yeah.
Right. But I think the way the Bengals have played this is bizarre, especially considering what they did earlier in the offseason with not just re-signing Jamar Chase to the extension that we all knew he should get, but also bringing back T. Higgins. Right? They listened to Joe Burrow and basically were like, okay, yeah, Gesicki, Chase, Higgins, we'll do it. But then, they're messing around with Trey Hendrickson, who led the league in sacks, and sacks are not everything. And I know, like that we could get into a debate between 2 other really good edge rushers in the AFC North about that. But he still made the plays when they were there. And if he's got those numbers, and you now see, Myles Garrett is making $40 million a year. Like, the market is the market, as Tua Tagovailoa said. And that's why he's making over $50 a year. Right?
Yep.
So if the Bengals do not want to pay Trey Hendrickson, then trade him, right? That's one thing. The Shamar Stewart stuff is just stupid.
Yeah.
Why are you digging your heels in on something like this where you have had this esoteric contract language in deals for previous first-round picks who were drafted lower than Shamar Stewart? This is ridiculous. I don't understand why you're digging your heels in on somebody that is going to sign a rookie deal, right? That if he's good, none of this is going to matter anyway. And you damn well should think that he's going to be good given the kind of draft capital that you use to go get him. So all of this does not make any sense to me from that standpoint. I don't know why you're messing around with two guys on defense who were supposed to make you better after you were so bad on defense last year that you wasted an MVP caliber season from Joe Burrow. You wasted an offensive player of the year caliber season by Jamar Chase, right? And you also had a guy in Trey Hendrickson who, again, led the league in 17.5 sacks. What are you doing? Did you bring in Al Golden just to be defensive coordinator so that he wouldn't have the kind of chess pieces he needs to be successful? I don't understand what the Bengals are doing with these two defensive ends, and they need to cut it out.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, if the Bengals defense was below average last year, they win 10, 11 games, and Joe Burrow wins the MVP unanimously. And it's just stupid. And it's weird because I used to say they were just cheap, but they're really not. I mean, they're middle of the pack in terms of spending, which a lot of people wouldn't think, and nobody expected them to sign Higgins at all. And for them to just with Hendrickson, what are they dickering over? $5 million a year? I mean, they want to pay him, I think, 28. He probably wants 35. Split the difference and let's go here. I mean, what is happening? It's just ridiculous.
Well, like I said, if you're not going to pay him, then trade him. Because now, with every day that we get closer to the season, his trade value diminishes.
I know, but you got to just sign him. They got to just sign him. You can't mess around. He's their best player.
I agree.
So it's ridiculous.
I agree.
All right. Thanks, Miles.
Yeah.
Good stuff,
Miles.
buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
We'll see you later.
Take care, fellas.